51 over here. I hope you're having a splendid day wherever you are in the world. Welcome back to the Motorsport Lounge and welcome back to another podcast. Now guys, before I say anything further, I am a bit sick, so I'm not going to be as loud and as flamboyant as usual, but just bear with me, okay? It's gonna be fine. And guys, I am joined once again by your favorite person on my channel despite myself. Craig, how are you this evening?
Breathing.
Is that going to be your answer for everything tonight?
Yes.
Well, it's just good to hear your voice, man, and I'm glad you're back on the podcast. I can guarantee you the comments of the Abu Dhabi podcast, people are going to be a bit cheesed off that you weren't there, but luckily you're here for the pre-season podcast.
I just wanted to keep everything calm, otherwise I would have exploded on that one.
Oh, don't worry. You can go listen to the Abu Dhabi podcast. I wouldn't say I exploded, but I had a bit of a meltdown about the whole Verstappen, Hamilton, and Michael Massey situation.
I don't blame you.
But in any case, it took me a month to calm down, so I'm glad I only did the podcast in about a week ago. So, in any case. So, Craig, obviously, we are here today to rate not rate the liveries, but put the liveries of the new cars in our favorite order, our preseason predictions, and then head into our predictions for the Constructors and Drivers Championship. So, let's start off with the liveries, and you're gonna hate me for my number 10, but which livery is your least favorite of the 2022 cars?
Probably Haas. I think it's too boring.
Okay, obviously I get that. Haas is not last for me. I've actually got McLaren in P10.
I see what McLaren tried to do. I think they tried to bring in some of that Gulf type livery that they had in Monaco. That's what that reminds me of.
Yeah, just look, first of all, with the car release, obviously we've seen the cars now in pre-season testing, and the McLaren aesthetically looks a bit better than the release car. But the problem for me is, when I saw the McLaren release, initially I was like, ooh, this looks cool, but then certain angles ate a bunch of Skittles, vomited, and they decided, I want that for the livery, because some shades of orange don't look the same. Then you've got the blue with the black and the white sponsors. It's just a little bit too much for me. And compared to their previous 3 seasons of liveries, it's not one that I completely enjoy.
I personally prefer it over the last few. I think that livery is much like you either love it or hate it.
Okay,
but
true.
I don't mind it. I don't mind it.
Look, all these cars, let me just put that out there before I get hated on the comments. All these cars to me look spectacular. They look so much better than the previous gen cars we have. They are much prettier, especially aesthetically. But of all the liveries we got, I'm a sucker for a white car. That's why the Haas to me is not in P10. But the McLaren to me was just a little bit too I want to say over eager with the colors. But still, it doesn't mean the car to me looks horrible. I think that car at the night races like we're going to have at Bahrain, Abu Dhabi, Singapore, I think there the car's going to pop really nicely.
Yeah.
Okay, but reveal to me your P9, because my P9 is Haas.
Mine's Alpine. I think it's awful.
Oh,
I think the Alpine looks horrible.
You're gonna hate me when you hear where I've put Alpine. Okay, so obviously we've touched on the Haas. The Haas to me, obviously, after the Russian sponsor, I'm not going to try and pronounce it, the Uralkali, whatever.
Uralkali, I think.
Yep, that thing. Now, the original livery to me was absolute crap. I would have put it lower than the McLaren, but when they, obviously with the whole thing, with the whole Russian-Ukraine thing, by the way, prayers towards Ukraine, the plain white doesn't look too bad. I feel as soon as they get a few new sponsors on the car, it's going to look a lot better. But the plain white to me, compared to this year and last year, it's not too bad. Compared to the Rich Energy, which to me was a phenomenal livery, it's not there, but it's not too bad in my opinion. But you've already touched upon the Haas livery. Why have you put Alpine in 9th? Because you're going to kill me when you hear where I've put Alpine.
3 letters, BWT.
Okay, I do understand that. Now, I am not a supporter of pink on a race car, but for some other reason, in my opinion, the pink works a lot better on the Alpine with that blue than it did on the Racing Point and the Force India.
Well, if you want to look at the first 2 races, it's pretty much a Racing Point.
Okay, yeah, because they're going completely pink, but I think from the 3rd race on, that car's not going to look too bad.
I mean, to be fair, it looked better on track than it did when I watched the launch event. But
True.
for me, it's still nowhere near as good as the others that are on this list.
Okay, yeah, no. There's a few liveries on this year's list, like, I'm not going to tell you where I put them, but like Aston Martin, Mercedes, Ferrari, those liveries look spectacular. Touch upon that enough, so let's move on to P8. Who's your P8?
So to be honest, it's tied between Williams and AlphaTauri.
Oh my word, you're gonna hate me for AlphaTauri, like literally you're gonna hate me. My P8 is Red Bull.
To be honest, I don't hate you for that, because yes, the livery works, but it's been the same since like the dawn of time. So
okay, well before
it's just a bit boring now. I think people are sick of seeing it.
Yes.
So
the thing is, because you mentioned now AlphaTauri and Alfa Romeo, okay? So the reason I've put Alfa Romeo, because I'm going to tell you my P7 now, because my P7 is Alfa Romeo. The reason I haven't grown sick of the Alfa Romeo livery is we've only seen it since 2018, and they've at least evolved the livery a bit. The only change we've seen in the Red Bull livery since 2009 is just a different shading of paint. It's either metallic, chrome, or matte. There's not really a difference in the physical, the movement of how the livery looks. And the main thing that bothers me about this year's Red Bull, look, when the car launched, I was like, this livery really works for these new gen cars. But the main thing that put me off so much, the front nose cone looks like a banana. It's not a little bit yellow.
There's too much yellow on the nose.
It's a load of yellow. Literally, when I saw the car from the front, I'm like, is Verstappen and Perez going to rear-end people and try and make them slip on banana peels? Because that literally looks like a banana on the nose of the car. And
You're Mario Kart.
Dude, the car from the side and the rear looks phenomenal, but from the front, it literally, I want to vomit when I see the front. It's not a pretty car from the front at all. The Oracle on the side looks spectacular with the Red Bull logo actually being a bit smaller than usual, but from the front, that car is ruined for me from the front.
Yeah, too much yellow.
Yeah, and once again, touching on the Alfa Romeo, at least the livery evolves a bit. To me, it's not as good as last year's livery. Last year's livery to me was absolutely gorgeous, but it's still not. The maroon and the white for me work better than this navy blue, red and yellow of the Red Bull. It's just to me, it's a better color combo, especially when you factor in there's those subtle touches of green because it's an Italian sponsored team.
Yeah, I mean, I personally think the Alfa Romeo is a lot better. Like, it looks a lot better than it did previous years. It's a bit retro. The wheel colours look very nice, and it works great on these new generations of car. I think it looks great.
Yeah. No, that I completely agree with you on. But yeah, I think we've said enough about Alpha. Okay, well, tell me, why did you put AlphaTauri in P7, dude? Like, oh my gosh. I think the AlphaTauri looks banging. I love the look of that car.
I just don't like it. I can't tell you why, but I'm just not a fan.
Oh no,
biggest fan.
Okay, look, obviously once again, I'm a sucker for a white or a black car, but the navy and the white on that car for me works just so well. Last year's livery to me wasn't so impressive because they swapped the white and the blue. They basically just tipped the shading. But this year, now that they've gone back to the 2019 look, to me, it works so good. The only thing that I don't like about that car is the flex body sponsor on the front wing, because that's orange. That just it stands out like a sore thumb. But other than
I thought that said flex boy. When I first saw it, I thought it said flex boy.
But other than that car to me, it literally looks like anything you pour on it is just gonna swish off. It just looks so clean, in my opinion.
Fair enough. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. I'm just not a fan.
Now look, this is obviously just opinion based, but I get what you say. So moving on to number 6, I've put Williams in P6.
Yep, same here. Williams.
Oh, we actually agree on one. I did not think that was going to happen at any stage tonight.
It was tied with AlphaTauri, but if I had to, pick one over the other, I'd say the Williams over the AlphaTauri.
okay, not for me, but looking at the Williams as a car alone, I love the different shades of blue that they went. Look, the livery itself to me is a little bit uninspired. It doesn't have these extreme lines, you know, it lacks a bit of creativity, but compared to last year's absolute vomit rocket of a livery, this was a clear step up to me. And the Williams looks fast in that livery. It's got a retro look as well as a modern look combined, and I love the look of the car.
Yeah, I thought this year's livery was going to be for last year, because I saw these like images when they were doing Silverstone shakedowns last year. All the team were in that navy blue team wear, and then there was like a small tiny little thing in the front wing which was also the same colour. So when this year's livery was shown, I thought that was going to be for last year, but obviously last year we got this, well, puke kind of car.
Yeah. The only place where last year's livery for me looked good was when they did that 750th Grand Prix special livery, because the logo on the back actually popped. But other than that, the Williams last year was not a good looking car, and when you compare it to this year, the Williams is actually a nice car to look at.
Yeah, a lot better, and in a way, like you said, it looks quick.
And the thing is, it's gonna look phenomenal. Now, obviously, you know, I'm a sucker for a night race. Any color that pops in a night race to me is good. And those different shades of blue at a place like Bahrain or Singapore is gonna look spectacular.
Yeah, for sure. I think the only thing that I'd remove from it is the red ring around the intake at the top.
Okay, that is something that I would agree with you upon. The little subtle touches of red, like obviously blue is a cold color, red is a warm color. They clash a bit on the car, but luckily, unlike Red Bull, they didn't overdo the red. So sometimes with some angles it looks good, in my opinion, and with other angles it's just like, could have gone without it.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so Craig, you reveal to me your P5, because I might feel a smack all the way from England when you hear my P5.
Well, I've gone for Red Bull.
Okay, I've gone for Alpine.
Should be further down. Should be further down, but oh well.
Okay, do you want to say something about the Red Bull, or do you think we've touched upon it good enough?
Just, I don't know, just a recap would be that it's the same as it has been pretty much since the start. It's not a bad livery, it's just I'm a bit bored of seeing it.
Yeah, we want something new and something fresh.
Yeah, that's why I've only put it 5th.
Now the thing is, I mean, I've put it 8th, but the reason I've put Alpine 5th is, yes, like I said, I'm not a fan of a pink race car at all. I mean, if I look back 3 years with the 24 Hours of Le Mans, they had that pink BWT Porsche that won the GTE class. I absolutely hated that car. It was to me probably the ugliest race car I've ever seen, and I'm a Porsche fan. I love Porsches, and then the BWT went over to Racing Point and Force India, and on 2018's car it looked alright, but that 2017 car that Perez and Ocon drove, to me, with that light shading of pink, and I can't say this on YouTube, but it looked like a certain inner color of a woman's certain part. I absolutely hated that color. It was gross.
Keep it PG.
Yes. So yeah, so pink to me doesn't work on a race car, but because it's such a, I almost want to say a chrome pink combined with that, I want to say sea blue, it actually pops to me. And when I initially saw the car, I was like, the overalls to me are absolute crap. I hate the overalls. The overalls are terrible. But the car itself, to me, it grew on me very quickly, especially when I saw it in Barcelona for the first week's testing. It didn't look that bad, especially with the afternoon sessions when the sun started to set. The car really didn't look bad.
Yeah, as I said, it looks a lot better on track. But do I like it? No. It just looks better on track than it did at the launch.
No, that's absolutely fine. But now we get to the bigger guns. So, okay, I'll go first. My P4 is Mercedes.
McLaren.
Ah, okay. So the two Mercedes powered cars. Okay, obviously, so I know Mercedes is going to be at least in your top three. But first of all, when it comes to my final four, which is the Mercedes, the Aston, the Ferrari, and the AlphaTauri, it's not that the Mercedes to me was the ugliest necessarily. I adore to see the silver arrows back, but I'm not going to lie, I appreciated the black Mercedes more. Because I'm not just Formula One crazy, I'm car crazy as well. When I think about Mercedes and the peak of their sports cars on the road, you have the Black Series Mercs. And the black Mercedes F1 car, to me, was like seeing an old SLS Black Series. It was phenomenal. So I don't dislike the silver, because obviously they are known as the silver arrows, but it's, to me, it doesn't pop as well as the black, but it's still a staggering livery, and it looks phenomenal, especially on track.
I'll get to my Mercedes thoughts in a second.
Okay, and yeah, you already touched upon McLaren, so go ahead with your P3.
Well, my P3 is Mercedes.
Okay, my P3 is Aston Martin.
Okay.
So rant on about Mercedes, I would love to hear this.
Right. I'm really happy to see the silver back.
Yeah, I know you like the silver more than the black.
To be fair, I really do respect the message and the reason why the black livery was on. Completely understand it, and the car looked amazing. I mean, the 2020 Mercedes in black looked a whole lot better than it did in the silver at pre-season testing. So I'm glad they made that change.
Yeah, the infamous W11 that me and you both adore.
Don't know, I'll start talking about it. But you know, again, they're known as the Silver Arrow, so it's just amazing to see back. And the Patronus green, is it green or is it like
it's
blue?
turquoise? It's a turquoise. Yeah.
The way they've done that is amazing as well. It's kind of like the front wing is kind of like a mix between like a silver and black, because it obviously has black on it. So the way they've done the Patronus turquoise on it really pops in. It is really nice, and especially with things like the colours for the driver numbers as well.
Okay, yeah, that's something that I do love. Yeah, the driver numbers, how they illuminated those, to me is also a very nice piece of that car's livery. And to be honest, when it comes to the, if you know, look at it in black and white, when it comes to the 2021 livery, the AMG on the back of the engine cover for the Mercedes didn't work for me as well as the physical Mercedes badges of the W11. But this year's car with the silver, I actually do rate the engine cover and just the whole look of the car. It to me, once again, it's like the AlphaTauri. It just looks like anything can run off of that car with the nice shading of color. And the turquoise works better with the silver than the black. I'll admit that.
Well, another thing that I quite like, and I completely, agree with, when people have been saying about the slim pod design and how it's like kind of like a fighter jet, the silver only works better with it because fighter jets are usually
Absolutely
silver.
true. Yes, absolutely true.
It works.
No, that I'll completely agree on. So Aston Martin. Craig, when I saw that car, the first message I sent you was, I'm scared of the Aston because that car looks mean. And after pre-season testing, I was a bit disappointed because I expected a lot more from Stroll and Vettel. But the car's looks still. That car to me looks like a raging bull that's ready to fight you. It looks like the Lamborghini logo if you look at it in a physical stature. And because they ditched the pink of BWT and now they've got that lime green from the Aston Martin endurance cars, that car is absolutely gorgeous. I would put that car next to the Mona Lisa painting and I'll still take the car. It's incredibly beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, that's my number 2 spot, Aston Martin. It's when I first saw that car, it looked amazing. Again, the AMR, Aston Martin Racing Green, alongside the British Racing Green, it's just a combo that works, and the car itself just looks amazing. So
Yeah, and I have to be honest with you, I've never been a fan of British racing green. I've never really been a fan of green. It's only recently been a color that stands out to me. But the British racing green, when it's chromed and on a race car like an F1 car, and a single-seater race car, it just does wonders. And I can understand why you British people love that color so much, because now that I've seen it on the Aston, I am flabbergasted. It looks phenomenal. It was ruined to me last year by the pink accents. But this year,
definitely.
This year, that car, there's only 2 cars for me above it, and obviously you already know what they are. But that green, man, that green with the lime in between, there's not much prettier than that.
It's pretty good. I can't deny it. It's pretty good.
So okay, so you already revealed that it's your number 2. Now my number 2 is the boys in red, Ferrari. Now I'm not gonna lie to you. I really wished that they would have brought back, because they signed Santander back at the end of last year, I would have liked them to bring back more of the white and less of the black. But when that car was released, in the lighting that Ferrari put it on that stage, it looks like a 90s F1 car that Alain Prost drove. It looks phenomenal, but the thing about the Ferrari, more than the livery itself, the physical design of the car, the aesthetics of that car, to me looks the meanest on the entire grid, and that the car literally stole my heart. If I could, I would marry it. I would chrome the Ferrari badge and say, this is now my wife.
So, because I've already said my number 2, my number 1 is obviously Ferrari.
Yeah.
But I've just got 3 words to say for it. It just works. Simple. Enough said. The car itself looks amazing, and like you said, it looks very much like a 90s Ferrari, and that's why I like it so much. It's so retro, and the car itself, like, the design is just amazing, and it just like I said, it just works.
Especially the side pods and the engine cover design of that car. Like, I know people are obviously making jokes about the engine cover and the side pods because it looks like a little bit of a dam. But it's such an intriguing design, and they're the only team on the grid that went for that design. And when you link that with the side pod, it just works. Like you said, it just works. We don't know why, but it works.
Well, I mean, every team's side pods are different.
No, that's true.
Well, apart from Mercedes, because Mercedes don't have any.
Yeah, Mercedes decided, okay, side pod, delete, let's go.
W13 went on a diet.
Literally. And even though the car is still heavier than last year's car, but still, side pod delete. But yeah, now obviously you've revealed your number 1. Now this is where you're gonna hate me, because my number 1 is AlphaTauri.
You had to.
No, look, obviously I get AlphaTauri as my 3rd favorite team on the grid, but I don't know why. And also, just like the British racing green on the Aston, I've never been a fan of navy blue, because my mother was obsessed with navy blue everything when I was a child. But that combination on that car with these models, these new 2022 cars, I literally, as soon as they released the car in that little 5-minute live stream that to me was pathetic for a car release, but in any case, when I saw that car with the white background, dude, I promise you, I literally had to stop the drool from coming out of my mouth. And obviously, it was immensely close between the AlphaTauri, the Ferrari, and the Aston. But the AlphaTauri, to me, just overall, I appreciate a clean car, and that to me, when I see the AlphaTauri, to me it's like in 50 years when that car is a classic and it still looks like that, it's gonna look like somebody has restored that car. And my knees buckle when I see the AlphaTauri, and on track it's even better.
It's certainly a livery that pops. Definitely. I mean, to be honest, AlphaTauri as a whole, I can imagine they'll be remembered most because of their bold liveries, and that is just another one to go with the rest of them, well, the other 2.
Yeah, no, definitely. And to me personally, the navy blue and the white, well, of this year's car and back in 2020, is the best AlphaTauri / Toro Rosso liveries we've ever seen. I was a big fan of the metallic light blue and the red on the 2017 and 18 cars. I really digged that, but this to me is just so much better. I don't know why, but I just appreciate the navy blue and the white of the Alpha Tauri branding.
Toro Rosso for the win.
Well, we all have our opinions, but Craig, let's get into our driver predictions for the 2022 season. And we will start off with your 5 predictions.
I reckon Sonoda will be just as bad as last year.
Oh, okay.
Leclerc and Sainz will fall out.
I hope that doesn't happen because I actually like what's going on between them, but in any case.
I think they'll have a car that will definitely contend for wins.
Okay.
I don't think things will be as nice between them if they're both fighting for a win. So I reckon
Also
at some
true.
point they will fall out.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at Hamilton and Rosberg, they were the best of friends until they fought for a world championship and they became sworn enemies. So, it's it's very possible.
Gasly will announce that he will leave the Red Bull family.
Juicy boy McGee. Oh.
He's better than Alpha Tauri.
Yeah, he is.
He proved that last year with his amazing consistent qualifying.
He's proved it the past 2 years.
Yeah, exactly. Red Bull don't deserve it.
No, I completely agree with that. Now, obviously, I know you disagree with me on this, but I believe Gasly has the ability to be a future world champion. And if he ever gets a car like a front-running Ferrari or Mercedes, I think he can do it. It's just, like you say, he deserves better than the Red Bull program and then Alpha Tauri. He will be appreciated more by a team like Ferrari, McLaren or Mercedes.
Yep. I know that he can be a championship contender. I mean, can possibly win one if he's in the right car. But I think if the competition is going to be as close as people want it to be, I think there are just better names out there to win it. Not to say that you can't, but I just think there are better names out there at the moment that can do it over here.
Okay, now that I agree with, but like I told you last year, I feel Gasly can be within the conversation of your Leclercs, your Russells, your Verstappens and your Norrises. And even Sainz is now part of that list as well, and I feel you can add Gasly to that list as well. He's just not... Obviously he had his spout in Red Bull, but he was way too inexperienced, and obviously I get it wasn't just the Red Bull car's fault, it was a lot was on him as well. But still, the amount that he had... The way he's picked himself up after basically Red Bull almost ruining his career, I think his mental and emotional strength is stronger than most drivers on that grid. And that is something that can be a winning formula.
Well, for me, that's why I don't believe Red Bull deserve it. Because
yes,
the way he's
same.
picked himself up and how much better he did in 2020 and, well, at the end of 2019, 2020 and 2021, the way he's picked himself up, the way he hasn't let, Red Bull bring him down, essentially, he's picked himself back up and it's made him stronger, if anything.
No, absolutely.
I just don't think after what they did to him, they deserve to keep him. So
no,
that's why I think he will announce that he's leaving.
Oh well, I hope that does happen because I'm a Gasly simp. But continue with the rest of your predictions before we talk 2 hours just about Pierre Gasly.
I think Russell will definitely be the team player this year. I think with what happened last year, at the end of last year, and the way Russell was upset about what happened, as am I.
As are we.
I think Russell will take it to Hamilton and the other guys, but I think if it comes to crunch time and Hamilton is ahead in the championship, I do think Russell will be a team player and he will help out whenever he's asked. He did it last year in Williams. He was willing to sacrifice his entire race to make sure Latifi got the best result possible. So he's shown that he can be a team player, and I just think he will do it again to help Hamilton out if he needs it.
Yes, especially if Hamilton is going to fight for an 8th World Championship, which I think will be the case.
Well, we'll get to that.
Okay, your final prediction?
All of Alfa Romeo's points will come from Bottas. I don't think Guan Yu Zhou will score or anything.
Wow, that is a bold one, because I think Zhou is more talented than Tsunoda, but oof, that's a harsh one. But the thing is, now me saying that, when you see where I've put Zhou in the Drivers' Championship, yeah, I can second that, because I think the Alfa Romeo this year is probably going to be one of the worst cars, if not the worst.
It'll be one of the worst cars, but the reason why I think Tsunoda will do better than Guan Yu Zhou, I still think Tsunoda's going to be absolute crap, but Tsunoda's got more experience. I know it's a completely new set of regulations, but Tsunoda's got more experience than Guan Yu Zhou.
Also true.
So I think that's what will put Tsunoda ahead of Guan Yu Zhou.
Okay. No, I get that. Was that your final prediction?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's it.
So let's run through mine. So my first prediction is Fernando Alonso, Charles Leclerc, Carlos Sainz, or Lewis Hamilton will become the World Drivers' Champion. Ferrari to win the Constructors' Championship. Pierre Gasly will outscore Max Verstappen and Sergio Perez in the Drivers' Championship. Valtteri Bottas achieves a podium for Alfa Romeo. And Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton will crash at least once during the 2022 season.
Bit shocked there. they are. They're bold, aren't they?
You know me. The thing is, these predictions, 99% of
Gasly
people
will
get them
outscore
wrong.
Perez and Verstappen in the championship.
Yep.
Are you sure?
That is how much I believe in Pierre Gasly. That is how talented I think the guy is. And if the cars are as close as they are this year, and Red Bull really didn't develop as much as they would have liked because of last season, I think Gasly can take the fight to his senior Red Bull teammates.
I don't know, but it's bold. It's bold, indeed.
Okay, so who have you got?
Alfa Romeo.
Okay.
Yeah, again, I think all the points will come from Bottas. So, like, not to say that the Alfa Romeo will be hugely off the pace. I think every single car has a chance at scoring points this season. They all look fairly quick, especially the turnaround from Haas. I think is insane.
Yes,
so,
it is. It is absolutely insane.
Yeah, I think every car has a chance at scoring points. It's just Alfa Romeo, I think, because of the only one driver, i.e. Bottas, being able to do anything. That's why they'll come last.
No, I completely agree with you on that. Look, like I said, I think Zhou is a better, shout than Tsunoda, but still, it is going to be Zhou's rookie season. And it's just, he's going up against somebody that could match Hamilton, not always, but say at least half of the time. And Bottas is no longer a rookie. Bottas is an experienced driver of the sport. I wouldn't say an experienced veteran, but he's going to go up against a very tough teammate, and he's going to really have to pull up his socks if he wants to, be anywhere near Bottas. So Alfa Romeo for P10 in the Constructors, we totally agree on that. And for P9 in the Constructors, I've put Aston Martin.
I've got Williams.
Oh, you've got Williams with Albon and Latifi.
Yes.
Okay, so before you go on about Williams, the reason I've put Aston Martin, even though I absolutely adore Sebastian Vettel and I still believe he's one of the best drivers on that grid, I just don't believe Vettel is ever going to get his savvy back. And Lance Stroll, for me, is a too inconsistent driver to carry the team when Vettel doesn't perform. And looking at Albon, if Albon can do what Gasly has done and actually, reprove himself, alongside Latifi, who I agree with Benjamin Daly saying that Latifi is better every season, and this year he's going to put up or shut up, and I think he's going to put up. I just don't think Vettel and Stroll are going to be consistent enough in the Astons to beat Williams. So that's why I've put Aston in P9.
I think Williams are going to have a fairly similar season as to what they did last year. I think Alex Albon is a very capable driver, and he will replace the role of George Russell. Not to say that I think Albon is the same calibre as George Russell.
I also don't think so.
But in terms of being able to put in the qualifying performances and the race performances, Alex Albon I think is definitely there to do that. Latifi will be a lot stronger. He will be able to put it in a Q2, maybe Q3 if he's at the right track. But considering the other teams and who I have ahead, I think it'll be a lot fewer than all the other teams.
Okay, no, I can see that with you. So who have you put in P8 then?
AlphaTauri.
Oh wow. Okay, we've got a big
because I think
difference
Tsunoda's crap.
Okay, I get that. I've put Williams in P8. I've like you said at the beginning when we started with the constructors talk, I think all the teams this year are going to be extremely close and everybody is going to be able to score points. I think the differences between the teams and the points are going to be minimal, not these big gaps we've usually seen. But I think Williams are a solid shout out for P8. I think Albon is going to take about half the season, about between a quarter and halfway into the season to get adjusted. And I think with Latifi being a proper backup for him, I think they're going to be doing good. But why have you put AlphaTauri? Obviously, I understand Tsunoda, but you're talking about Pierre Gasly here, Mr. Consistency himself.
Yeah. If his qualifying performances are very similar to what they were last year, where he's consistently putting it in the top 10, and he only falls back a few positions during the race, and he does score points consistently, then I can't see them going higher. But if you consider people like Fernando Alonso, Lando Norris, Sebastian Vettel, basically drivers in better cars in the top 10, and when you consider Ferrari being at the front, we're going back to now there being 6 front runners, 6 cars fighting for wins, instead of just 4 like we've seen the past couple of years. So I just think points will still be, few for AlphaTauri, but the majority of them will come from Pierre Gasly. I agree with on. If he's still as strong in qualifying as he was last year, I can see them getting way more. But if you consider, the bigger names like Esteban Ocon, Fernando Alonso, Lando Norris, Daniel Ricciardo, there's only four more places in the top 10 before we get to the front runners.
Also true.
So.
No, I get where you're going with that. But, okay, so you've put AlphaTauri in P8. Going on to P7, I've put Haas.
Same here.
I think Haas are really going to pick themselves up, but especially I think the fact, thank God Mazepin is out, but the fact that they've brought back Kevin Magnussen is a big plus for that team.
Yeah, Kevin Magnussen, he hasn't exactly took a year off and just been sat at home having cream cakes, Nico Hulkenberg, but
same with Albon in Williams as well. We didn't even mention that, but still go on.
Magnussen continued driving. He was doing the World Endurance Championship. He did a fill-in race for IndyCar for Felix Rosenqvist. So Magnussen's stayed active through his time out of F1.
Yes.
So he's experienced. I reckon he'll adapt to the car fairly quickly. He was already able to put the car up to a high position in testing. I know it's testing, but still,
it was impressive.
You still got to have the nerves to put in a decent time, and he's been able to do that. And I think Mick Schumacher will grow even more.
I think Schumacher is going to be I'm going to think Schumacher is going to be extremely strong this year. Look, I understand it's only a second season, but if I look back at his Formula Renault, Formula 3, European Formula 3, Formula 3 itself, and Formula 2, his first season was always good, but not consistent. He got adjusted to the new I almost say genre of sport, but the new way that the new sport worked. And in his second season, he just came out swinging for the fences. European F3, his F3, he dominated his European F3 and F3 second seasons. His second season in F2, if it wasn't for Callum Eilert, who really gave him a good run for his money, Schumacher would have dominated that season. And I think he's going to do the same in F1. I think second season and onwards, we're really going to start to see the inner Schumacher within him.
Yeah, I completely agree. The only thing that I could say could go the other way is the fact because it's a new car, he might need another year.
Okay, I understand that,
Because
but he
it is
hasn't
in a
been
way
bad in
kind of like
testing.
switching to another discipline.
No,
Because of
no,
how different these cars are.
That's true, that is very true. But like I just said, he wasn't bad in testing. He was not Magnussen's caliber, but he wasn't far behind Magnussen. I think the furthest he was away from Magnussen on the day that they did, I think it was less than half a second. And on the other days, he beat Fittipaldi, he beat Mazepin, he beat them solidly. So even with the long runs, with the timed runs, with the quali runs, everything that has tested, he was ahead. And the thing is, Magnussen went out on the C4, the second softest tire, and he went for a few small laps and then a push lap. Schumi was less than half a second behind him on the C4. His time was set on a C4 tire. So,
to be honest, I also think with Schumacher being probably like in the midfield now, he will thrive a lot more.
Yes, because he's
than
going to be
last year.
Yes,
all he had to
racing.
race was Mazepin, and then as soon as he got past Mazepin, he like flew into the distance because Mazepin was like a second a lap slower.
Exactly, and now and again he would battle Latifi if Latifi had a bad weekend, but that was also a rare occurrence.
Yeah, so I think he'll thrive a lot more when he's fighting more people.
Yeah, he's going to grow a lot more. So we totally agree on Haas. Now, in P6, I've put McLaren.
I put Aston Martin.
Ooh. Okay, so I'll go first on this one. The reason I've put McLaren is just like you believe Tsunoda and Zhou are going to be useless. I feel Ricciardo's going to have a crap season again. And I feel Lando Norris is going to be the one to carry that team. We're going to have 2 or 3, Ricciardo performances, but other than that, I think Lando's going to carry the team, and it's not going to be enough because the grid is going to be so much closer together. And I think McLaren are going to lose a lot of valuable points because Ricciardo is not going to be there. But that's the only reason I've put them in 6th. I don't think it's a bad
All I'll say is,
call.
I hope you're wrong.
No, I know, because I know McLaren is a British team, and there's a British driver within McLaren, and you are a Brit.
You can't be saying that. I'll get roasted.
No, you
Can't
won't.
be saying that. British bias. Can't be saying that.
Oh, man, I'm not even Italian, and I'm Italian biased, so it's fine.
So the reason I put Aston Martin is because Stroll is useless, apart from when it's a wet race. When it's a wet race, Stroll is pretty decent. Like he's. I mean, look at Turkey 2020.
Yeah.
He put it on pole in the most difficult conditions. Verstappen couldn't even deny him. So he's a very, very good driver in the wet. I reckon he'll move up very highly in wet races. But when it comes to dry races and when everyone's more competitive, he tends to be nowhere.
Yes, he's just outside the points, but never within the points.
He's a solid driver, don't get me wrong, but Seb will still have his lunch money.
Yes. No, I agree with that. The thing with me about Stroll is he's a good driver, like you said. He's respectful. He's a respected driver. He's good, but my problem with Stroll is he has a points finish once in a blue moon in a dry race, and then it's usually a P7 or a P5. It's really high, but it only happens once every 8 races, unless it's wet.
Yeah.
He's not consistent enough. Vettel was the one last season picking up those P8s, P9s, P10s, and then Stroll was sitting in somewhere between P12 to P14.
13, 14.
Exactly. So the thing for me is if Stroll can sort out his consistency, he'll be there. But until he does that, which he hasn't done ever since he left Williams, I don't see much from Aston Martin, hence why I put them in 9th.
Again, I hope you're wrong.
British team, British bias. No, I'm joking. But
you can't say that.
But tell me why you put Aston Martin in P6. So besides the Stroll thing, you think Vettel's going to be better this year than last season?
Yeah, I reckon so. He's one of those experienced drivers. He'll adapt fairly quickly. When he has a good weekend, he's one of the best.
That's true. That's very true. Like Hungary last season, and Azerbaijan.
Hungary and Baku.
Yeah.
When he has a good weekend, he is really good. And with him being more established in the team, I reckon it will just make him stronger. I kind of agree in what you're saying. I don't think we'll see the old Vettel back. I think he'll need a championship contending car in order to get that back.
Yeah,
but
true.
I don't think Aston Martin have a championship contending car this year, so I can't see it, getting his mojo back.
Yeah,
like that.
Okay, now I agree with you on that. So with that being said, Craig, tell me who you have put in 5th place for the Constructors.
Alpine.
Okay, so you're keeping them where they were last season, okay? Why?
L Plan.
Dude, I just burst out in laughter. My dad's gonna kill me. Oh my goodness.
Nah, to be honest, I think they'll be plagued with reliability.
Okay, obviously we know about the new engine.
L Plan will turn into L Pain.
Okay.
No, I reckon they'll have a very solid car. I just think they'll be plagued with reliability because they've gone for that. What was it? The split turbo?
Yeah, the split turbo. Yeah, the split turbo setup.
Yeah, they've gone for that. It's their first season using that, I believe. Yeah, I just think they'll be plagued with reliability. Renault engines have always really had some issues with reliability, and I don't think that'll change. I think with them going to the split turbo configuration as well, it may be good for performance, but in order to get performance you've got to risk reliability. So
okay, true that. Me on the other hand, because I've put Alpine a little bit higher than you, I think even though it is a stab in the dark, I feel with the recent engineers that Alpine have obtained from other parts of motorsport and also that they've poached from other teams, I think they've really got the experience to have the reliability sorted for most of the time. I still think they're going to have reliability issues, there's no doubt about it, but I don't think it's going to be as major as people think it is. And I mean, Ocon proved himself last year a lot better than he did in 2020 alongside Ricciardo, and I mean the second driver in that car is bloody Fernando Alonso. He's 41 years old and still driving like he's 25. To me, there's just too much potential. I don't think they're going to be a world championship winning team like I thought they would be. I trusted L Plan a little bit too much, but I definitely think they're going to be a lot closer to the front than we think. My opinion.
I mean, fair enough. I do agree Fernando Alonso is still, racing very, very well. Which I think in this day and age, because all the drivers do take care of themselves so well, like their diets, their workout routines, they can push themselves for longer. I mean, look at IndyCar, all the veteran drivers like Will Power, Scott Dixon,
there's people good into their 50s.
It gets to a point where age is just a number now.
Yeah.
In the world of motorsport, the drivers are still racing to their ability of, say, 5, 6, 10 years ago. So I do believe it will get to a stage where they do start getting worse. Slow reaction times, small things. But yeah, Fernando Alonso is still on it. I mean, look at his defending at Hungary last year. It was, as much as I wanted Hamilton to get past, it was a good defense. I can't deny it.
Literally the Hungarian Grand Prix of last year was literally your favorite driver against my favorite driver.
Yep, but Hamilton won in the end, so shut up.
No, he didn't. Ocon won, and it took him 8 laps to get past Alonso.
No, but against Fernando he won. Against Fernando he won.
In a car that's 1.5 seconds a lap faster, but still.
Shut up! We're not talking about that.
Sorry, I just had to...
It's Hungary, you can't overtake around there.
Well, Hamilton clearly overtook him, so what was his excuse earlier? In any case, I've put AlphaTauri in P5.
So you think Tsunoda's actually going to be able to do something?
Me, honestly, I still think he's going to struggle, don't get me wrong, but I've followed Tsunoda. The thing is, I've always, ever since Kamui Kobayashi was a Japanese driver in Formula 1, I've always been intrigued by Asian drivers, Chinese, Japanese, Korean, around the world, and I've followed Tsunoda's Japanese racing series when he was a kid, and also when he got into F3 and F2. I know how talented Tsunoda is and how good he can be. And the thing is, Gasly is being a really good teammate to him. Gasly is really helping Tsunoda to gain experience and learn a lot from him. And I think Tsunoda is going to surprise a lot of people last year. The thing about last year is I think people overhyped Tsunoda so much, and I think he felt the pressure from his fans so much that was a factor. But I think this...
It's definitely because of Bahrain.
True.
Definitely
true.
because of Bahrain last year.
And
Because of the way he was sending it, it got a lot of people excited.
Yeah.
But he'd been driving that track for like a long time. Like, look at the amount of time in testing. Then there's the practice sessions. Then there's qualifying in the race. So he did have a lot of experience around Bahrain. But as soon as he went anywhere else, he was nowhere. So.
No, I understand that, but I still think he's going to be a lot better. I still don't think he's going to outperform Gasly. Like we said, Gasly is Mr. Consistency himself, but I don't think he's going to be as far off as people think he's going to be. And I still think with Gasly being Mr. Consistency and me thinking that the AlphaTauri is going to be a lot better than people think it's going to be very close to the Red Bull. I think AlphaTauri can get P5 in the Constructors this season.
Well, we'll see on that one. It'll be interesting because, yeah, I don't think Tsunoda will do well, but new car, more experience, could he turn it around? Especially with didn't he have coaching from Alex Albon?
Yes, he did as well.
Yeah, he could surprise us. But I don't know.
Look,
I think he'll be just as bad as last year.
Yeah, honestly, I do doubt it that he will surprise us. But the opportunity is still there, and I really hope he does, because I like Yuki. He's a fun character, and he is a good driver. But we'll just have to see if he can really bite the bullet this year, because if he has a year like this, like last year, Red Bull are going to kick him, and we will never see him in Formula 1 again. He has to have a good year.
Yeah, make a break.
Okay, moving on to P4. I've put in P4 who you've put in P5. I've put Alpine in P4 for reasons I've already explained. I think Alonso is going to be an absolute animal this year, because Alonso has made it clear he wants to try for at least one more world championship before he retires. He wants to try, not necessarily win one, but he wants to be in a championship battle. And Ocon, to me, has really stepped up. And I think they're going to be, if reliability isn't an issue, like I hope it's not going to be, but you think it's going to be, I think Alpine are going to be a solid shout out for fourth in the Constructors.
I think McLaren.
So you've gone McLaren P4, so you're going to keep them in P4 like last season.
Yeah. Norris will continue the way he started last year. He definitely tailed off towards the end of the season. But I think that was just because Ferrari got too good for them in the end.
And I also think the McLaren, I said it in the Abu Dhabi podcast, sorry for chipping in, but the McLaren to me overall last year wasn't a good package over all tracks. It had its strong tracks and it had its weak tracks, and on the weak tracks Norris and Ricciardo really struggled.
Yeah, when it was on a strong track, it was really strong. And then when it was on a track that it struggled on, it really struggled. But from Barcelona, it looks quick. In Bahrain, they weren't allowed to do many long runs because their brakes thought about not existing anymore. I think they had cooling issues on the brakes, so they were only allowed to do a few laps at a time. But I think on a qualifying lap it looks quite quick.
It does.
And with Norris at the wheel, I hope Ricciardo can do better than he did last year. But I think he's already starting on the back foot because he missed the entire Bahrain test.
Yep.
So I think it's down to Lando again for the first 4 or 5 races of the season. Then we've got to see where Ricciardo is again. But if Ricciardo can pull his finger out, he will definitely be a solid teammate and a solid driver in general, and he'll do what he does best.
Yeah, look, like I said, I've got nothing against Daniel Ricciardo. I've never really been a fan of him, but I like the guy. And I mean, he is a multiple race winner. He is one of the best drivers on the grid. If you look at not the eldest like Vettel, Hamilton and Alonso, but like the next bracket where, you know, say him and Perez fall, he is, to me, in that bracket, he is the best driver. And if he can really get used to this new gen car and you know, adapt his driving style like he did when he was back at Red Bull when the wide cars came in, I think he will be phenomenal, and I think he will be matching Lando a lot better. But like you said, I think for the first 6 races, and if Ricciardo struggles to pick himself up, maybe the first half of the season, which I honestly also don't hope, because McLaren is my second favorite team, I think it's going to be mostly on Lando for this season again. But let's hope Ricciardo shows up if he races at Bahrain, or if he races at Imola for the second round. Let's hope he just shows up and he absolutely knocks it out of the park.
I hope so.
Okay, and I think we're going to agree on P3. So, I've put Red Bull in P3.
Yep, same.
Aha. Okay, so I think we're going to keep this short and sweet, but I've put them there mainly because I don't think they did as much development last season on this year's cars. They should have, like Mercedes, Ferrari, McLaren. I still think Verstappen is going to absolutely maul Perez, even though I think Perez is going to adapt much easier to this car than Max. But I don't see Max defending his title, and I don't see them being consistent big points scorers, because we both know we've got Mercedes and Ferrari in the top 2 positions, and with Hamilton, Russell, Leclerc and Sainz, who are going to be points hungry, and if the Ferrari is a championship winning car, it's going to be bloody hard for Red Bull to get in the mix.
Yeah, last year they spent a hell of a lot of resources and money trying to win the championship and putting money in the Massey's pocket, but you know, that's just a joke, don't kill me. No, they spent a lot last year, way more than Mercedes. Mercedes only upgraded their car once last season, and they still had a development token for that year that they didn't use. So yeah, in terms of the development for this year, Red Bull were on the back foot. They really wanted the championship last year, they got it, but I think now they'll pay the price. Yeah,
same. It's literally we've got the exact same reason. So yeah, and I think for P1 and P2 we're gonna differ, but tell me who you have got in. Well, let's do that. You tell me your P2 and P1 and I'll tell you mine.
So I think it's going to be very, very close, for one. But in P2, Ferrari.
And then Mercedes as number 1, I'm guessing.
As number 1, yes.
And now mine is the complete opposite. I've gone Mercedes P2, but Ferrari take the Constructors. So Craig, you've got the floor. Go right ahead.
It'll be very close between the two. I reckon we could see another 2018, 2017, with how close it'll be between the two. As said, I think Leclerc and Sainz might have a bit of a fallout which could compromise the team's performance. And with me thinking Russell will be more of a team player, and Hamilton being as hungry as he is, I think Mercedes will work like a well-oiled machine, like they always do. The car, it looks... If they sort out their bouncing issues, they've got the best car, no doubt. I think the bouncing issues that they're having is what is stopping, like, it is what is limiting their performance.
Yeah.
I reckon if they sort that out, best car.
Okay, I tend to disagree with you slightly on that, but not by a big margin. Okay, this is me not talking out of a biased perspective because I'm a Ferrari fan. First of all, Ferrari had the I can't remember the term for the bouncing. Can you remember what the term was?
Porpoising.
Porpoising, there we go. Now, when we went to Spain, the Ferrari, the Mercedes, and the McLaren were the cars that porpoised the worst.